Hi, I'm going to show you what it's like to use the glirc IRC client. So I'm going to connect to an existing ZNC bouncer session. So as you can see, this has lots of my history already loaded and buffered. Well, we can jump over to the Haskell Beginners channel, channel number 5, so we do Alt 5. This is the normal ZNC glirc view. We collapse all the joins and parts into single lines where possible, so that's all of the little green pluses and red X's. One of the features of glirc is you can switch to detailed views on demand by pressing F2 or with one of the commands. And so this just allows us to toggle between seeing all of the full host names and usernames and any hidden messages and so on. And these windows are all completely searchable. So we can do things like searching for various regular expressions, join message, chat messages, part messages, and so on. And that works on almost every window. glirc also has split screen view, so maybe we want to have access to a few of our windows all at once. So there's all side-by-side column views, and we can toggle that to a stacked single column view, depending on what makes sense for the width of the chat environment. And then in this case, we can switch, it's a bit chaotic there, but we can switch all of them to detailed view at the same time, and we can grep all of them at the same time. So for the sake of the small window here, I'll reset my splits. glirc has a complete in-program help system. You can look through all the available commands, and if you would like help on a command, you can also run help like that and brings it up. In most windows, you can get back to where you were by pressing escape. One of the features of glirc is that it tries to avoid inserting informational messages into the chat window. So looking at the band list in some clients might just insert those as chat lines, but as we'll see, we can look at the band list here and it's just a separate window and push escape to go back to where we were. Interesting features here, grep continues to work. So if we wanted to find bands that match a certain pattern, we can. And we have things like autocomplete on bands through tab completion. The mode commands are pretty smart. So in all of the glirc commands, we have hints, the little placeholders that'll pop up and show us what commands arguments are expected next. And so this can be really handy when we're trying to keep track of the argument orders. If we forget them, we don't have to look at the help so often. We get an instant reminder. The commands also will start blue when we're finishing a command, go green when we found the command, and go red to indicate that this isn't a valid command. Inline chat editing kind of works as you're seeing here. We've got full Emacs key bindings, and this all has kind of inline formatting. So for example, user nicks here will highlight correctly, so we'll know that we've entered someone's name who's in channel while we're typing the message. If we were to do IRC formatting codes like bold, underline, reverse, O is reset. We have italics, and we can do colors. And you might think that looks awful, and usually it does, but we support all of those things. If you forget what are all the color codes, we have the palette, and you can see all these things here. And if you scroll up, we can also see the configurable color scheme in the current client palette at the top, and that's all configurable in the configuration file. One of the features of glirc is that the ignores don't actually ignore lines, but they simply collapse them into these metadata lines that you've seen for joins and parts. So this is useful if you'd like to ignore a conversation for the moment, but you don't want to forget that someone's talking, and you'd like to be able to bring those messages back. Not all ignores are just because you don't like someone. So suppose we didn't want to see some messages here, we might ignore this tick, and then we see that those messages went away, but there's these extra messages here, so we can see where the ignored messages were without them taking up too much space on the screen. And if we're ready, we can bring those back. So this is the basic functionality of glirc. Jump around, jump to activity, things like finding mentions, and so on. In addition, glirc has a pretty complete configuration file, and it has a self-documenting config file format. So any configuration setting that the client supports, it can produce documentation on, and this is tied to the parser, so it's always up to date. And you can get glirc from my GitHub or from Package. And thanks for watching.